And the tendency of a church is to get to the point where you say, okay, us four and no more, right? We're good. We have our little friend social club. Let's stay where we're at. And that's what happened in the early church. They were in Jerusalem. They're having fellowship. They're sharing. They're going from house to house, breaking bread, having fellowship with all the people and growing in favor with God and man. And the Lord's multiplying them in Jerusalem. And so God finally brings persecution to them, and they have to leave. They have to spread out. Well, God will use persecution if necessary to get his people to do what he tells them to do. He'll do it. He'll even allow conflict to come into a congregation. How do you know that, Pastor? Well, it happened with Paul and Barnabas. They were both apostles, and God allowed conflict to come into their relationship, and they had some contention, so that they said, "Fine, we're splitting. Barnabas is like, I'm taking Mark, and Paul takes his, Silas, and they separate. They go separate ways. Takes Timothy with him. They separate. They go separate ways. Now later on, Paul kind of says, I was wrong about Mark. He's a pretty good guy. But God allowed strife to enter in just so they would do what he tells them to do. And I say this as an application. It's on my mind a lot lately, and I've got some exciting things that we'll be talking about soon. But we have to think as a church about raising up deacons and elders with the idea that eventually you intentionally, with the love of God, you go separate ways so that you can do what God tells you to do, be fruitful and multiply. Because God doesn't call us just forever stay in one location. God wants us to, just like children. Parents know this. You have your children, you love your children, you just want to keep them with you forever. The thing is, you can't. They grow up, they leave, they cleave, they start new families, and they, in turn, multiply, and the pattern repeats. That's God's plan for the family. It's God's plan for the church. You teach them when they're young, you train them up, you raise them, and you send them out. And that's the way the church is.